Have you ever had a memory from when you were a kid that just stuck with you? Something you saw that you couldn't quite explain? Well, today we're diving into a really profound personal story about exactly that. It's about a mystery that started with a moment of deep, deep sorrow and an observation that took 50 years to finally make sense. And this right here, this one sentence, is the heart of the entire mystery. I mean, just think about it. This was an observation a child made on one of the worst days you can imagine, seeing an expression on his grieving mother's face that just didn't add up. Sadness? Sure, that makes sense. But bliss? How on earth can those two feelings exist in the exact same moment? So yeah, that's the central puzzle we're digging into, a mother's completely contradictory expression in a moment of just profound grief. It's a memory that would quietly end up shaping the narrator's whole understanding of loss and comfort for the rest of his life. Okay, so to really get the weight of this moment, we have to go back in time. The year is 1959. A family has just been shattered. They've lost their patriarch. The kids are young, and their mom has just come home from laying her husband to rest. You can just feel how thick the air is with sorrow.
And this is the question that just got stuck in the narrator's head as a little kid. I mean, for a child, it's an impossible sight. Grief is supposed to look one way, right? But this was something totally different. It was a puzzle, and there were no pieces to solve it.
So how did this tragic day even happen? To really grasp the shock of it all, we've got to understand the events that led up to that funeral.
You know, the chain of events here is just staggering. Only 6 weeks before he died, the father had complained about chest pains. But he goes to a cardiologist, gets checked out, and gets a clean bill of health. No heart problems, they said. And then, just like that, on September 9th, he drops dead at work from a massive heart attack. The shock, the devastation for that family, it's just unimaginable.
Can you imagine coming home from school to hear that news? And get this, the first thing the narrator did, his first instinct when he heard his father was gone, was to ask for a photograph, just so he could see his dad's face again.
The funeral was held only 3 days later. And here's a really crucial detail. The children didn't go. They were so young, so they stayed with an aunt. And this is so important because it sets the stage for that pivotal moment. It means he didn't see his mother's face at the cemetery, but in those quiet, heavy moments right after she got back home.
And so that one single moment, seeing his mother's face after the funeral, planted a question that would just lie there dormant for decades, a little unresolved memory buried deep inside a day of overwhelming loss.
I mean, here you can see the conflict just laid bare. On one side, you have sorrow, the grief you'd expect, the understandable pain of a widow. But on the other side, bliss, a sense of peace, maybe even joy that seems so totally and completely out of place. It was a paradox he carried with him unspoken for years.
50 years. Just let that sink in for a second. Half a century went by. The narrator grew up, he lived his life, and that childhood memory was pretty much forgotten, just buried under all the layers of time.
And then, in 2009, it all came back up. And not in some big dramatic confrontation or anything. It was just a simple, casual chat with his mother, reminiscing about the past. And right there, in that quiet moment, the door to that 50-year-old mystery finally started to creak open.
Okay, this is it. This is the moment the entire story has been building towards. After 50 years of silence, the narrator is finally about to get an answer to a question he didn't even realize he was still carrying.
So his mother starts to tell him about the funeral. She describes standing there at the graveside, watching as her husband's coffin was lowered into the ground. And she said she was just overwhelmed by this immense, crushing sadness and grief. It was her absolute darkest moment.
But then, right in that moment of total despair, something else happened. Something extraordinary. She felt two things at the exact same time. A warm hand resting on her right shoulder and soft, comforting words being spoken directly into her mind. She called it almost miraculous.
And this is the message she heard. Words of just profound reassurance and love and hope, delivered right when she needed it most. It was a promise that their connection wasn't really gone, and a reminder that she had to find the strength to go on for their children.
And just like that, the 50-year-old puzzle was solved. Everything clicked into place. The sorrow on her face was for the physical loss, for the terrible finality of seeing that coffin lowered. But the bliss, that came from this incredible private moment of connection and reassurance. The two emotions weren't a contradiction at all. They were a direct result of her experience.
So, what does this 50-year-old mystery really teach us? Well, maybe it's that grief isn't always what we think it is, that even in our absolute darkest hours, the human experience can hold space for some kind of inexplicable peace, some profound connection. And it leaves all of us with a pretty powerful question to think about. In our own lives, how do we find comfort in our deepest moments of grief?